All right, everyone. Of course, as usual, I always try to go live early because of the technical issues. Before I bring in my guests, I wanted to ask you all for a little favor. So, a lot of you may not know this, but all of these LinkedIn lives are actually uploaded in my podcast. So it is very easy for you to access amazing previous episodes with previous guests. There's a lot of good information around career transitions, storytelling, finding your career archetype. And I want to basically explain to you how to get there. So, if you go on my website, it is nadabuhendi.com. So you can see it here, nadabuhendi.com. There's a link that says podcast. You can click on that link and you will be able to see all of the episodes. You can either listen to them by clicking on that play button, or you can just go directly on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I actually recommend doing that because that is a lot easier. If you're driving, in the car or on transit, it uses less of your bandwidth if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The other favor that I wanted to ask you is if you enjoy, joining these LinkedIn lives and you want to see more of them, I would really, really, really appreciate it if you subscribe on, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whichever is your favorite platform, and leave me a review so that I can basically, spread the word and continue doing this. All right. So now that I have gone through that, I am super duper excited. I decided to make the theme today was actually inspired by one of you, and that's what I really love is when some of you reach out to me and say, "Hey, could you cover this topic? I'm stuck with this." And that makes it more beneficial for all of you. And so one of you reached out to me and said, "You know what? With all of the layoffs that's going on, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I don't know how to navigate this." Whether people are unemployed, they feel like they are struggling to find a job, they feel there's more competition, they go through a lot of fear, they wonder, do I need to be picky, do I need to be less picky? And so I want to provide guidance, the right professional guidance, instead of you basically listening to a lot of contradictory advice, so that you have peace of mind that you're navigating this the right way. And then there are some of you who are employed and maybe you're unhappy with your job and you're wondering, is this the right time for me to actually do a job search? Should I just be grateful? So this is the theme for today. Of course, for those of you who are guests, thank you so much for volunteering and being here. You can also ask me, other questions. All right. So I'm going to actually get Divya first because she mentioned to me that she needs to go to class. So I'll get her on first, and then we'll go with the order of people who actually volunteered. All right. Hey, Divya, you are backstage. Don't worry about putting your camera on. Totally cool. Whatever you're comfortable with. Um, First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, Hi Nada, yeah, this is me. I am excited to chat with you. Uh, uh, the I am I'm a mom of two kids, and juggling all the stuff,
Wow.
and that's when I would like your advice on, hey, like you said correctly, like you have a job, so should you be grateful, or should you be like, hey, oh, this is that opportunity for me to look out, learn more, stuff, or should I just be like in survival mode till the economy gets better, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, what do you feel is your biggest struggle right now?
I think my biggest struggle right now is like, I think, like finding a direction. Should I, so I'm in product management. role. But then, as a product management role, you get to experience different things. Or should my question is, should I continue in the same industry that I am in, or venture into new stuff so I get to learn more? uh, Finding my like, what should I do situation. So yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. I can feel, the confusion in terms of not knowing what your sweet spot is and what you should do next. That's basically what I'm sensing. Just the way you're asking me the question, I feel that way. So you a product manager at the moment, or are you a business analyst? I'm just reviewing, your information without,
Yeah,
mentioning
I'm a business
company stuff.
analyst. Yeah.
You're a business analyst. So is your question, um, should I pursue a product management path? Um, is that what you're trying to, ask me, if it's breaking into product management?
Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time to come and, break into the product management. I'm from a QA testing background. So I came into product management role, and that's like, I love it. I love the whole thing. But again, progressing on the path, um, it takes, again, it's been little stable. So the question is, uh, it's it's I think, if you want to, like, okay, just let's, stay put and, uh, you know continue this and learn, or should we, like, oh, let's, get uh, you know go to different industries, or, go higher in the career path. But again, the market is so bad that that path is not there, and then you're like, oh, you're desperately waiting. And then you get into, like, the sad vibes, like, hey, my aim was different, but then I'm just here because the other door is not opening it for, different scenarios, reasons, because of the circumstance of the world right now. So it's kind of like, yeah, should I stay put, or should I, take a risk and go out? But again, what is a risk? And, stuff like that, because even applying jobs is like a big full-time job in itself.
I hear you. By the way, I just saw your message saying that you can't hear me. Are you still reading the captions, or can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm still reading through the captions. I'm figuring out where is the speaker.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. The people in backstage.
Oh, okay. It's just me.
Okay. Okay, so that's okay. Hopefully reading the captions is still gonna work. Maybe I will speak slower. Okay, Divya, I sense a lot of fear that is going on here. The fact that you are questioning whether you should stay or leave, to me, is an indication that there is something missing for you. Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think, the thing missing is, like a career, like a salary stuff, etc. So
Gotcha. There's a lot of missing components for you. You don't feel completely fulfilled. You want to feel more valued, and by valued, it's not just monetary, but also the nature of the stuff that you do. It sounds like you want more. Am I getting that right? Do you feel like you want more in your job? More challenge, variety, maybe different, maybe more product centric stuff? Are you still with me? Divya, did I lose you? Oh no, we lost her. Okay, well, Divya, I'm sorry that we were having technical issues, but I'm actually, you gave me enough information for me to give you an answer, and hopefully you're going to be able to watch the replay if you had to drop off and completely leave. And I see that you just messaged me right now, and I'm just going to quickly say, no worries, watch the replay. Um, so I'm going to answer your question, even though you're not here with me. So here's the deal, everyone, right? I know that we have this fear, right, where we question whether we should stay or leave our job. And a lot of it is influenced by, do I think maybe the grass is not going to be greener? What if I leave and get into a worse situation? Or maybe we feel like we have imposter syndrome and we feel like I need to do more before I deserve this next opportunity. And here's the deal. Um, you're not going to know if you're ready until you try. You're not going to know if you're ready until you try. I don't know if most of you are swimmers, right? Like when you first learn how to swim, there is a leap of faith that you have to take, right? You have to just remove the floating devices and just try and see if you're going to float. And if you don't remove those floating devices, you're never going to learn how to swim. Okay? And so you need to try, and if you fail, it's okay. A lot of us think like, oh my God, what if I get to this job and I bomb and I get fired and I get laid off? Okay, maybe that is the worst case scenario. Let's say it happens, right? What is the worst that's going to happen if you got laid off or if the job didn't work out? I understand that a lot of you feel like maybe you're not going to be employable if that happens, right? A lot of you feel that way. Give me a yes, give me a like if that's how you feel. Um, the thing is, the thing is, okay. And yeah, the thing is that that is not true. That is not true. The reason, people, get laid off most of the time, sure, it could be competency, but a lot of the times, if the environment that you're in, like your boss is responsible for you, your boss is supposed to be your mentor, your boss is supposed to know like how much you can tolerate, and your boss is supposed to like um, be good at detecting whether you're ready for this job. And let me tell you something, if in the interview they hire you not knowing that you're capable or not, then that person is just not a good boss because they're not capable of assessing your capabilities. And I feel that if that's the case, it's honestly not your fault if you've been truthful and transparent about what you can and what you can't do. Um, and most employers are very forgiving if you are honest about your failures and what you've learned from them. Believe me when I say that many of the jobs that I've held, I left before they let me go. That's what happened. But I learned from my failures and I got better at them. And the thing is, sometimes just a change in environment can make a huge difference in you performing better. The downside of you not even trying is you're going to wonder, well, what if I took that job? What would have happened? Right? And yes, the next job will want references from the last job, but let me tell you something, Facebook user. I don't know who you are because it doesn't show me your name, but you're from my Facebook group, I can tell. Um, look, when they ask for a reference, most of the time it's a background check and it's a yes or no question. And Rhonda, thank you. Um, I am sure that there is someone that you can use. Just don't use the reference from that specific job if it was that bad. Use the reference from another job, right? But here's the thing, if you are that unhappy If you are that unhappy, then you need to do something about it, because there's another danger of staying in a job where you don't feel fulfilled. And the danger is that at some point you're going to get so bored, you're going to get demotivated, that you're also going to end up with the same result of getting laid off. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Divya. Um, if you have more questions, reach out to me. You and I can chat over a virtual coffee. But with the little information that you provided me, that is basically my response to you. Okay, I am going to add the next person. And thank you also, Joe, for contributing to this. Similar concerns, loyalty versus variety of experience in the latter half of a career. You got to look out for yourself. And I think if an employer really values you and looks out for your best interest, they're gonna want what's best for you. Honestly, I've had a lot of great bosses. In fact, when I quit over text, my boss actually encouraged me to leave, not because I was a bad performer, but because he knew I was unhappy. And I'm still in touch with him, and I thank him every day for encouraging me to go out of my comfort zone and leave, because I wouldn't be a career coach and I wouldn't be helping any of you today if that wasn't the case. All right. Danica, I hope I'm saying your name right. How's it going?
Hi, it's going. Thank you for putting this on.
Of course, of course. Did I say your name right, first of all?
You did. Yes, it's Danica.
Beautiful. All right, Danica, tell me what's going on. Um, what's blocking you right now? What's your ideal situation? Tell us more.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm in a similar mindset as the person that was just on. So it was interesting to hear. I've been laid off. Um, I was a technical project manager. It was about 10 months ago now. And just as time goes on, it's more and more, it's harder and harder to like remember what you're good at, right? Like it feels so distant. So I've done my best to like volunteer and keep myself busy, but I wasn't really happy in what I was doing before. Um, so in this type of market, I'm just curious to hear like your thoughts on how to go about like career transition. It doesn't seem like the best time to do it, right? Like for me, I don't feel like I'm at a huge advantage here, but would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So you were in project management, and it's been how many months since you've been laid off? More than 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the role that you're trying to transition into?
Um, I'm trying to transition into like UX research.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. What made you decide to pick that?
Yeah, several years ago, I was working in recruiting, and I had interviewed several people in product and thought that would be really interesting. Um, Definitely an empathetic person, and just the more I learned about um, user design and user research, I thought it'd be a good combination of skills. So, in the time that I've been unemployed, I got a certification, but since being certified, I feel like I'm just not making much progress.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And that is a common thing that I see a lot of people face when they're trying to make a career transition. They go into a boot camp. Maybe they're promised that after this boot camp, they're going to land a job, but it doesn't happen. And I've had multiple clients within design who are trying to achieve the same goal. And that can be definitely a struggle. Okay, so do you feel like you're clear that UX research is what you want to do, or was it something that you just saw and then you're like, that could be a possibility, and now you're doubting yourself? Like from a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are you that this is what you want to do?
Yeah. Um, So, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, right?
Mm,
I think just because I haven't done it. Um, so yeah, I'm not completely sure. So I feel like um, as like pressure grows with not having a job, um, I'm doubting myself more.
okay. Let me ask you a few questions just to see if we can clarify that a little bit. And I'm just going to put you on mute for a second and then unmute you. Okay, so when it comes to, I have a career archetype quiz, and there are a set of questions that I tend to ask people to try to dial in into what it is that is their sweet spot. So generally, what I see is people fit into one of those four buckets. Okay. I'm going to start with three buckets only, and then we're going to dial it in even more. So the first bucket is people who prioritize the customer over teams. So the types of problems that they love solving is ones that involve customers, by ensuring the products that they design meet those needs. I call those like basically the more like a product owner archetype, because you love taking ownership of a product and using it to solve a customer problem. The other archetype is basically more of a team centric archetype where you care more about teams versus customers. You're more of a process person. You love improving processes. You want to make sure that you arm teams with the right process in order to be successful. So that is another bucket. I'm actually just going to ask you, which of these buckets do you feel that which of these buckets do you feel you fit into? And you can unmute yourself and tell me.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was weird. It's all staticky. Do you want to try again? So what bucket do you fall into? Do you care more about customers or teams?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. I was just saying that was really clarifying actually. Yeah, I think I'm definitely more of a team centric archetype.
Ah, interesting. Are you are you a process person? Do you love improving processes, and do you care about how teams work together?
Yes.
Hmm. That explains it. You know, you were on the right track as a project manager, because project managers are all about process. They're all about improving processes, and they're all about improving the team health, the team morale. In fact, you remind me actually of a client of mine in a weird way who was a designer, and she ended up becoming a scrum master when we worked together. She discovered along the way that while she loves the idea of design, she didn't necessarily want to be the one doing the designs. She was more interested in helping her team work together better. She wanted to be involved in a digital product, in a customer facing product, but she didn't want to be the one making design decisions or pumping out, basically designs or prototypes. The thing is, Danica, a lot of people feel like they need to do a particular role and profession to be able to do certain things. I think what might have attracted you about the UX design role is that you love solving probably user problems, I feel that since you've shared with me that you're a recruiter, you're probably a very empathetic person. Um, and maybe what drove you into UX design is the ability to basically ensure that user problems are being solved. The thing is, if you were playing the role of a scrum master or project manager, you can still be involved in doing that. You can still be on a digital product that is user facing, but instead of you being the one who comes up with the designs, you can actually rally the team to do that. You know what I mean? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
And so, what I tell people when they're going through career transitions is to go about them one step at a time, or we have a little analogy in my community. One of my clients, Rachel, coined it, and she went through a very complex career transition from a professor of theater to working, at a tech company, working even alongside UX researchers and designers. Is we say that you want to navigate your career one lily pad at a time. Imagine like those frogs on a pond jumping from one lily pad to another. They're not going to make a huge leap from one side of the pond or not. And I think what you're doing is you're trying to jump from one side of the pond or not. You're trying to go from a background in recruitment and project manager to being a hands-on designer. And the reality is, even when they tell you that you don't, as a UX researcher, that they don't need you to have a lot of experience pumping out prototype, the reality is, and every UX designer is going to tell you that, is you start out being the one pumping out those designs. And if you don't have a very solid portfolio, which is often very stressful for a lot of design career transitioners, like the portfolio is a nightmare for them. And it's like a chicken and the egg situation where they want a really amazing portfolio, but you haven't worked on like actual, paid project, and it can be a very long-winded process. You may have to do a lot of freelancing, you may have to go on Upworks, you may have to do a lot of pro bono work, when you could simply be adjacent to a designer and leverage your transferable skills as a project manager and just focus on finding maybe projects that are more customer facing, that are heavy on the design, maybe volunteering and helping out the designers a little bit to grow your skill set while getting paid, and then decide if maybe that fixes your itch. Maybe it's not the fact that you need to be pumping out those designs. You just want to be part of basically a user centric product. Or you may decide, you know what, that itch is still not filled for me and I still want to do it. But then at least you're going to have something to show and you're going to have something to talk about in the interview. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. So for me then, like, if I were to stay on this project manager path, I've been kind of doing the same thing as far as what people recommend in applying for jobs, right? Reaching out to hiring managers, different people on the team, writing specific resumes and cover letters, and I'm just not making progress. Is that like, do you think more of the market, or are there more things that I could do to like boost my progress right now?
So obviously, I haven't seen your resume for me to judge what the problem is. I'm guessing you're not getting enough interviews. So, yes, that would be your brand, because what are we showing if we are not getting interviews? Our resume, right? Your resume is the ticket to the interview door. And if that door is not being opened, that means it's what you're telling them in your resume that's not resonating. My thoughts are, before you get into that, which seems counterintuitive, um, figure out crystallize what type of project manager role you want to do. Because project management is a very broad profession. There are many types of project managers doing different type of things. I would start thinking about, okay, as a project manager, what type of projects do I want to be on? You and I already kind of determined that what drew you into UX in the first place is you want to be managing a maybe design project, right? Um, Crystallize that a little bit more. Ask yourself, what type of problems would I enjoy solving in that role? What types of people I want to interact with? Do I want to interact with designers? Do I want to interact with other people? What type of products am I passionate about, in what industries? Crystallize that a little bit more, because that is going to help you make your branding more focused and speak to that, versus putting a whole bunch of stuff that is not focused. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. And you know what? In my career transition podcast, so I shared earlier the link to my podcast. It's notabohendi.com slash podcast. If you go there, you are actually going to see a bunch of episodes like identifying your MVP ideal job, and basically identifying your career sweet spot. And that is going to give you a lot of clarity in terms of how to narrow down the role, as well as if you look at some of the episodes around the resume, curating your experience to build your resume part 1, and curating your experience to build your resume part 2. That's also going to help you too. And if you like, you can also book a virtual coffee with me and we can chat more about that. All right?
All right. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Super nice to have you. All right. So let us see the next person. Deneb, I think you're actually next. Woohoo.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Great, thank you. And you?
Good, good. So tell me, what brings you here today?
Well, I'm a physician, and I've been a physician for more than 10 years. Now I have the opportunity to transfer my skills, because I realized that I don't want work as a physician anymore. I am more enthusiastic about the workplace wellness or the health promotion, and looking for opportunities. I see this challenge. When you are in the qualifications area, they are looking for specific positions like a nurse or a social worker, a physician, uh, something like that. So my question is, should I apply anyway? If I think I have the skills, I like transfer my skills, and I don't know if this is enough, or I need to take a plan B and look for related positions in the time I can get the certification.
I hear you. And it's such a tough thing because, hey, for all of you in tech, like, you all have it easy. We have it easy. Come on, admit it. There's no need for meeting any regulatory requirements or, like US or Canadian requirements. Versus in the health space, it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? Um, Much more complicated. In fact, in my client community, I actually had a situation of a client who was actually a physician as well, from Nigeria. And she did not want to redo her medical exams. She actually, progressed very far along in her medical career in Nigeria. She even owned her own clinic, and she was on her way to becoming a chief, medical officer. But circumstances, as family circumstances have led her to move to Canada, and she was in this situation where she was like, obviously I want to move, but I also don't want to deal with all that studying. So she made the choice to basically explore other options. And one of the options, I asked her what she's passionate about, and I believe that sometimes the way we can decide what we want to do is to look at our entire career journey, okay, and ask ourselves, what were some of the frustrations that I had to deal with in my entire career journey? For her, she told me the story of how she was talking to a patient who was totally giving up. I mean, this patient was so giving up on herself because she was so frustrated with the whole appointment system and getting an appointment and not getting the proper health care. And in that moment, she said, I really wish I could do something about the electronic medical records, about, building digital health products that would remove the bureaucracy and the patient waiting time. She became so passionate about that, but she did not have any experience in tech. So what happened was she took a couple of courses in database administration, which she actually says to me that she didn't even have to do, but that's before she met me. And then when her and I talked, I said, well, why don't you get into product management? We realized that her career archetype is as a doctor, she is customer facing, right? Always cares about the customer, the client. And she wants to solve problems using services or products. And so in the tech world, that translates to product management within health. So I invite you to look at the entire career journey that you've been through. Sometimes it's even your own suffering, right? For me, as an example, one of my biggest frustrations was how I was navigating my job search and how it was ridiculous that I had to deal with something such as figuring out a resume just to get my foot in the door when I have tremendous experience. I mean, it was so painful to me that when after maybe like when I was in the 10-year mark of my career, having worked at top companies like Deloitte and Accenture, um, that someone was actually questioning my qualifications. It just felt so insulting to me. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I have to like prove myself after all of what I've been through? And so that kind of lit a fire in me of, I wish I could improve this process. And subconsciously, that ended up becoming a career coach. I just had no idea back then. So I feel like you're at this point where you're it's a little broad for you, right? It's still like a lot of confusion in your head. And I think rather than jumping into conclusions, I feel what might help you is if you start journaling.
Okay.
So there's an exercise that I give a lot of my clients called Chunks of 10. I want you to journal all of the moments that were significant in your career from birth all the way to present. The reason I call it Chunks of 10 is because um, you don't want to like journal every single year of your life, but you want to categorize your entire life line into 10-year increments. So for each 10-year increment, you could do 5 or 10, doesn't matter. Think of 3 moments that brought you joy. Think of 3 significant moments. It could even be like painful moments and frustrations. Like for me, I still remember how, that moment that I just described to you where I left my job after 10 years and I was struggling, to land another job. I remember how I wrote a resume for a whole bunch of people. That was in my chunks of 10, and I didn't even think much of it. And until I wrote all of those things, I was able to look back and get the help of someone else to connect the dots for me. So that exercise is phenomenal. I think you should try it. And I'm sure as you journal, you'll realize, wow, I keep solving the same problem over and over and over and over again for people. And maybe that's what I need to turn into a profession.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense for me.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me about this?
No, I think I'm gonna start making the exercise, the journal exercise, and yeah, feels like I have more space.
Exactly. Exactly. I know it's like all clustered in your head right now. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to choose. And I don't even know what I want right now. And how do I even translate that to something out there? I think the first step is to figure out what you want first, figure out what you care about. And I'm sure, I think you've been watching, or listening to my career transition podcast, and you've probably come across, the episode around identifying your career sweet spot, and then the episode around the type of problems you want to solve, the type of impact you want to have, and the type of collaboration you prefer. Those are questions that you also want to ask. It's not enough to figure out the activities that you enjoy doing. You also want to start thinking about, what types of people do I like working with? And when I work with these people, do I like to be in meetings? Do I like to not interact too much with too many people all day? What are some of the things that I was doing as a physician that I want to do less of? What are some of the things that I was doing as a physician that I definitely want to continue doing in other roles? And that is going to definitely help you a lot.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. It's so nice having you.
Thanks.
All right. Um, Amit. Amit or Amit?
The latter.
Amit.
Amit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. How's it going?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. The weather's nice, almost knocking on the door of weekend. So it's
Exciting,
good. Yeah.
exciting. So tell me more. What brings you here? What are you trying
I
to
was just
solve?
following you like on LinkedIn, and then some of the posts. I see a lot of things going around, and then I like to assess them in my own way, or or if look at things from other side as well, right? So if like somebody is talking in favor, so I see, okay, so if you're talking in favor of something, let me put myself against you and ask like why you are in favor, why not this, why not that, kind of things. So I think initially I probably don't have as a question as such, but yeah, probably as we talk, maybe I might end up
Absolutely.
asking few things. So I think in
Absolutely.
in the beginning you mentioned like when you were talking to Divya, right? So you mentioned being a bad boss, right? So I think like boss is also human, right? So why isn't
Absolutely.
he allowed to make mistake, or what's wrong with being a bad boss as well?
You can be, it's okay to, I mean, everyone, I think both parties are accountable, right?
Yeah.
As human beings, we need to control what we're able to control versus try to control what we can't, right?
Mhm.
To
Yeah.
me, I'm a neutral person, and this is why it's good to work with a career coach, because um, obviously recruiters, as much as I know amazing recruiters, and my mentor is a recruiter, and she even told me that's the reason she left being a recruiter, is because at the end of the day, the person who pays her is the company. And so she has to basically work in their best interest, not the job seeker's interest. And she shared with me that that is part of why she became a career coach, is because there were many times that she would have conversations with candidates that she's recruiting or she's interviewing, and she wanted to tell them so badly. She wanted to tell them so badly, like why they weren't chosen, what they need to do differently, things that they need to update in the resume or whatever. But she couldn't. She wasn't allowed, right? Because she would get into trouble for that. She could get sued for that. She could be sued for discrimination. Lots of things. So she couldn't do that. right? And that is why she ended up becoming a career coach, because she wanted to freely give people that advice. Um, and so, you know, when we work with clients as career coaches, we're not going to sugarcoat things. If we see that there is something that is not serving you that you're doing, we're going to say that, because at the end of the day, like, we want you to win. So yes, you're right. Like, every employee can do better. There's always an area of improvement, but you also want to pick what level of maturity fits you, right?
Yeah.
Just because, you know, a boss, you know, is human and can make mistakes, doesn't mean you have to put up with those types of mistakes, right? It's your choice if you want to put up
Yeah.
with them or not. Just like it's their choice if they are okay with someone who's super junior, or they're willing to pay more for someone who's more experienced and needs less handholding. So we
Absolutely. So it's a
we all
two-way street.
decide. Absolutely. We all decide what relationships we want to enter. It's the same thing in romantic relationships, right? We
Yeah.
choose, you know, what flaws we want to put up with and what qualities we want in a partner.
Mhm.
So, tell me a little bit more. Like, do you have a specific goal right now in your career that you're trying to pursue?
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm not sure because I think the whole concept personally of being challenged every day, getting meaningful work every day is a BS for me.
Okay.
I like I like getting more time or doing little bit boring stuff. It gives me more time for myself and for my family. I can go and hit the gym right on time, or even during the working day as well. I can easily take out an hour and go to a gym, do something else, right? That makes me happy. So, you know, yeah, you want to keep doing, or maybe if you think like this is a job is something that you're gonna do your entire life, and then you're in a kind of a profession where you need to upskill yourself, or like for technology is changing daily, right? So I mean I'm in technology, so yeah, so you need to keep up with certain things. But I feel like the whole concept of finding super challenging things is BS for personally for me. I am happy where I am. So yeah, I don't know what do you think about that. Did you get that?
Yeah, sorry. I
Okay.
had to unmute myself. So, you know, again, to me, I feel that we should decide what
Yeah.
brings us joy. If you're in and it honestly changes depending on where you're at in your life. I mean, look, as much as I tell people that I felt miserable for 15 years of my career because I felt that I was doing something that I wasn't necessarily passionate about, I also feel like there were pockets of time where I needed that. I needed to
Yeah.
just coast. You know, my mom was going through cancer. She had just been diagnosed, and I didn't want anything challenging. I just wanted to just go do the job, go home, and take care of my family, right?
Yeah.
That
And
was
get
where I was
paid.
at. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If that's the way you feel right now in your life, and you shouldn't let someone judge you for that, right?
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
have different priorities. um, I think that sometimes this whole westernized concept of um, everything needs to be balanced and everything needs to be equal. I'm not in that camp
Yeah.
necessarily. It's kind of like when people say you need a balanced diet, and I feel that's not true too. I actually did not have a balanced diet and realized working with a coach that I need to eat more fat and protein and almost zero carbs, and that's how I thrive. And contrary to what a lot of people say that you need carbs to have energy, I'm the opposite. If I
Mm.
eat carbs, it actually makes me fall asleep.
Yeah.
So that goes to show, and this is food related, not work related, but I'm using this analogy to show that we are the ones who dictate the composition of how much work emphasis we want to put in, how much financial emphasis we want to put in, how much family emphasis we want to put in. There are entrepreneurs out there who are perfectly fine with or even professionals out there who are perfectly fine with having a very small circle of friends and just working, putting in most of their time in their work.
Yeah.
Are they bad people? Are they crazy? No, it's just what
No.
works for them. So I think if you feel that way, then that's fine. I mean, is there something that you wanted to ask me, or is there something that you're concerned about? Are you employed right now? Are you looking? Like, what's
No,
your
yeah, I
situation?
am employed, but yeah, so as of now, like it's almost, I'm almost at a stage where it's just like a free money for me. Even I
Hmm.
told my boss few weeks back that give me at least some work. So I'm like, okay, either give me work, but someday don't call me and say, okay, I'm done with you, kind of a situation. So that's what I like kind of thinking. I don't know what's gonna happen. I've put my hand up and said to him, at least give me some work, right? Because it is too much of a free money for me right now.
So is this something that you wish could change, or are you okay with that? Like, what is your question here?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, is that okay as long as it lasts, or you know, should I take the initiative and then look for something else, or it's okay since I have raised my hand and I've flagged it that I have bandwidth and I need some more work to keep me a little bit more busy. So should I just play along, or you know just get out in the market and then leave this job? My boss is awesome. He's an awesome person.
Okay. So
Yeah.
my recommendation is you have an honest conversation with your boss, okay? And ask them if I would actually ask for feedback on your performance just to be safe. Um, I think what happens a lot of times is people don't communicate. They don't communicate. They don't know where they stand with someone.
Yeah.
Robert, that's funny. Carbs make you sleepy too. I'm just seeing your message. Um, you know, it's like when you're in a relationship and you don't know if the person who's with you in the relationship is happy or not, and those two people never talk about it. And then it blows up, and then they wonder what happened. And so I would say it is healthy to have that conversation with your boss if you're not sure. Like, confront the elephant in the room and just say, "Hey, I just want to make sure that I'm fully supporting you, and and I'm meeting your needs, and I'd love to know if you have any feedback for me, if there's something I can do differently." And when they give you the feedback, create that psychological safety for them to give you that feedback. Oftentimes when people ask for feedback and someone gives them feedback, they start making excuses or justifying or arguing with that feedback. And I'm not saying that you know maybe the feedback is uncalled for or it's correct or incorrect. you know I'm just saying that if you want your boss to open up to you and not beat around the bush, then just listen to their feedback and don't try to correct them. Just take it in first, and then see where you stand. If it is something like you need to change, then make that effort, if obviously if you want to stay in that job, and show and give examples to your boss that you've been doing what it is that they've been telling you. Now, it's possible that this is a very slow moving environment, and believe me, I have been in those environments where things are
It is super slow
slow.
moving. Yeah, it is a super slow moving one.
Yeah. And so you know you this is where I tell people is you need to be in an environment that fits your pace. If you're telling me that you're okay with that pace, you're not bored, and it's actually a good thing for you because it's meeting your lifestyle, then I say there's nothing to change. But if
Yeah.
it is not, then you got to do something about it, right? I mean, I am the kind of person who's boom, boom, boom. I'm fast. Like I'm like running in front of everyone else, like a million miles away. And that's what got me into trouble because I stayed in environments that were too slow moving, and it created conflict. I was bulldozing over everyone. So it's very important to be in an environment that fits you. So yeah, my homework for you is have that conversation with your boss.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Awesome, my friend. All right. Last but not least, patiently waiting for his turn is Araz. Nice to meet you. You and I have
Nice.
had so many exchanges, and we finally get to talk.
Yeah. Thanks for this opportunity. Uh, I'm really thankful for all the people speak before me. I mean, I learned beautiful things from all of them, and I was really busy to really write down all the things. And I believe that I have something from every person from the who speak before me. So I'm kind of like, I believe I'm not like say like my journey in the career was kind very unique, but it's very unique for this conversation because from age wise and education wise, I'm look like in mature level. So because I have master degree and I'm almost 37, but I never.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah,
You're making me feel old. Get
no.
out of here.
But
I'm
comparing with
older
my
than you.
career.
What are you talking about?
No, comparing with career wise.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I have a career too. You're
Yeah, I mean, like
killing me.
comparing with career wise, I work at Target, and basically, people I work with them, basically, they are all like college student or like teenagers or people who want to stay at Target.
Mhm.
So basically, that I'm not so like I'm like I like about my current job is that they accepted me as it is. I mean, you have master, you have whatever, you got the $15, and there is no judging about that. But for me, that's part of like okay, I really want to find to be like in job that really challenge me, and I never get this chance because my all the job I work on it, I just jump in this job just to survive, just to pay my bills. Like for last, I would say 20 years, I never work in the place that I like, and even in my study, because I came from Middle East, so there is no way to choose or design your degree. Everybody studies the same thing, and it depends about high school degree. So I jump in manufacturing, and I was good a student because I want to prove good things to my parents. And even when I got the master's degree, because a scholarship should be aligned with your academic background. So I also jump and I got straight A, but I'm asking myself, like, do I do something that I like? I don't know, but I really what I enjoy in the process for all the things like in academia, it's about like the feeling of accomplishment. But now I found like myself, like I'm an engineer with 2 degrees, but I have zero experience in engineering. And for searching for what kind of career, like my friend during the pandemic told me, Ross, what are you doing? And man, everybody moving to tech now. Let's go jump in tech. So I tried to push myself in tech. It doesn't work with me. I was thinking to get to CNP. Then same friend, I was talking with him last week, and he told me, guess what? Now it's worse that I've jumped in tech because it's like off season for tech. And now I'm really in the stage. So to
Complete
after my
confusion.
yeah, I mean my question is that who am I? Like I'm a person
Exactly.
who
I hear you. And I think,
yeah
you're sort of like in that space a little bit with Deneb where you're sort of still in those early stages where it's not crystallized yet what it is that you want to do, and you're still
yeah
formulating it. Okay, first of all, I dropped my podcast link in
hmm
the chat.
hmm
Okay, so I'm just curious, everyone who has listened to any of the episodes in my podcast. I just want to know numbers just for my own curiosity. Give me a like on that link if you have tuned in, if you have checked out my podcast at all, if you even know that I have a podcast, do me a favor and give me a like on that link that I dropped, just so that I know. In the meantime, what I wanted to say to you, Araz, is that you and I sort of have a little bit of a similar story. It's not exactly the same, but in one of my episodes in the podcast, I talk about my childhood. And I come from the Middle East as well. I come from Bahrain. I'm sure you know where that is. And same mentality, where my parents either wanted me to be an engineer or a doctor.
Or a doctor.
It's one of those two. I don't know what it is. It's like, my God, when I see blood, I want to faint. And, I went into engineering school and it was torture. I did not enjoy, I went into software engineering, and the idea of building things always excited me, but I don't want to be the one who's building it. I want to be the ideas person, but not the one building it. So honestly, I have a really horrible attention to detail. So the thought of finding a bug in my code was a nightmare. Like, it took me days to find that tiny little defect in my code. So I hear you. There's a lot of stuff that contributed to you suppressing what it is that you enjoy and just doing it for the sake of being a hardworking individual. So it's the same advice that I gave Deneb. Is I really want you to journal what gets you excited. Your comment, what your friend said about now tech is bad. First, you were like, oh, just get into tech because that's lucrative. Or no, now don't get into tech. And that just proves that at the end of the day, it's not about what seems lucrative in the market. It's about what you're good at. I'll tell you something. I am not kidding you. If I go outside right now, if I open the door and go outside, every 5 minutes I walk, there's a coffee shop. Every 5 minutes I walk, there is a coffee shop. But despite all of the coffee shops out there, there is one that I will pick, and I will go out of my way to go to that coffee shop because their coffee is amazing. It doesn't matter how oversaturated the neighborhood is. I will go there because the coffee is amazing. I love it. People are friendly. They know my order. I don't even have to say the order and they already know. Oh, you want the almond latte with 2 Splenda? Yes, I use Splenda. I know I'm terrible. They just know me and it makes me happy. And so they are so good at what they do. And they're even more expensive than the other coffee shops in the neighborhood, but I choose to go there. Okay. And that goes to show that the market is always going to be competitive. And the thing is, even if you entered a non-saturated market, and I don't believe in that. Let's say you're in a desert, you go there and you decide to open a coffee shop there. If your coffee sucks, I mean, okay, it is a desert, so I'm exaggerating a bit, but maybe your coffee is going to be so bad that they're going to prefer drinking their water than buying the coffee from you. And so you gotta really figure out what brings you joy instead of being swayed what people on the outside are constantly telling you. Okay? Because I know, based on your work ethic, that once you find what you enjoy and set your mind to it, you're going to make it happen. You're going to wake up every day, you're going to put in your reps, and you're going to make it happen. So I recommend you do that journaling exercise. And the reason I dropped that link to the podcast is because you're going to find it there. You're going to find that journaling exercise. I recommend that you watch I actually recommend that you watch episode 1, What's Holding You Back from Your Career Transition. That is the episode for you. What's holding you back? Because you are being held back from making a move. And that episode is going to speak to you. So that is your homework. And then do that journaling exercise that I shared with Deneb as well, because that's going to make you feel good and give you more clarity. Does that sound good?
It sounds good, but I'm kind of person need to change my mentality. I'm always the person who always have creative to put obstacles in anything. So I'm gonna, once you mention that to the previous person we talked with about the journal. I never work in something that I like. I mean, like, what should
Try
I
it.
write? I mean,
Try
like,
it. Every single
I
one of my
know.
clients who landed
Yeah.
jobs swears by that exercise. And I'm going to tell you something else that's going to blow your mind. You're telling me about your age and this and that. I have a client who's older than you and who did not have a degree, no degree. And he was able to get into a gaming company in Europe as an agile mentor. This is a role that people tend to think you need a ton of certifications to get into and a fancy degree. And he did not need any of those things and landed the job. Do you know why? Because he is so passionate about gaming. He went into a rabbit hole learning about games. He built his own game out of fun. And this is why I'm saying, Araz, that once you find what you love, you're going to make it happen. Believe me when I say that. I'm telling you this because that's what I did to do what I do right now. I did not know anything about writing resumes. I sucked at interviews. I have, videos of me making fun of myself because I used to have a notebook with 3 pages. Those 3 pages were one interview answer. I was terrible. And if you go back on my LinkedIn, when I first started out in 2020, you're going to see how much I sucked on video, let alone me doing a live right now with you all. Okay? How I got here is because I put in my reps. 2020, I spent 10 hours a day studying. I was learning the psychology of marketing so that I can improve myself in my own way of writing so that I can teach my clients how to write. I shadowed my mentor for hours and coached her clients for free. I worked with people for free because I was scared of failing, right? And I wanted to improve myself. Obviously, at the beginning, no one would want to work with me if I didn't know anything. But the only reason I got so good is because I loved what I was doing so much that it didn't feel like work. And when you find that thing, you're going to inevitably build that confidence to feel that you're good. You're going to be so good at it that you're going to beat everyone else, even if they have a degree or certification. Do grandmothers who work at bakeries and make bread have certifications or go to the 5 Michelin star school? They don't, but they beat that Michelin star chef's butt because they're so passionate about it. They wake up in the morning and their heart and soul is into it. So I'm telling you, you just need to find it. And once you do, then you're not going to care about what your friends say.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
answer.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Araz, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining. That was awesome. Hey, look, don't be shy. You should be my next guest if you have a career question. If you're frustrated, if you're going and asking your friends for advice, if you're with your significant other and all you talk about is your frustrations when it comes to your career, this is your opportunity. Where are you going to find a place where you can actually talk to a professional who's going to answer your questions? So if you or you know someone else who needs that help, DM me and you might be my next guest. I have very limited spots, as you've seen. I can only take on, let's say, 5 or 6 people per episode, but I can make sure that we schedule you into the next episode. So go ahead, DM me, let me know. As you've seen, you can even turn your video off. You can even use a fake name, maybe Cinderella or Snow White, for all I care. I just want to be here to help because I know what it's like, being miserable in my career. I've experienced that my whole life. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 18 and I didn't have a lot of resources. So I want to create those resources for you. So DM me, let me know, and do me a favor. If you've loved this, please support this podcast and leave a review because this will enable me to get sponsorship so I can keep doing this for free so that it's sustainable for me. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. It was nice having you. If you enjoyed this, please reshare this, comment, like, so that we can spread the love and more people can watch this. I hope you have a wonderful night.